Antarctica is the harshest, most unforgiving, and least explored continent on our planet. A land where temperatures can drop below -80 degrees, where winds can reach unimaginable speeds, and where human survival is reduced to a fragile struggle against nature itself. For centuries, this frozen desert has been more than just a continent. It has been a symbol, a boundary, a question mark at the edge of human knowledge. Throughout history, Antarctica has given birth to countless myths, legends, and mysteries. Many who attempted to explore it never returned. Some vanished without a trace. Others returned with stories so strange that they blurred the line between science, speculation, and pure imagination. Today, the existence of Antarctica is no longer a secret. It is clearly visible on every modern map. It is photographed by satellites. It is studied by scientists. And yet, despite all this, Antarctica still feels forbidden. Not just physically, but symbolically. You are technically allowed to go there, but only under strict rules, strict permissions, strict supervision. You cannot walk freely. You cannot explore at will. You cannot simply decide to discover what lies beneath the ice. So the question naturally arises, why? Why do nations treat this glacier-covered continent as if it were a hidden treasure? Why is access restricted? Why are flights limited? Why is the center of the continent almost completely off limits? Is it really just about safety, science, and environmental protection? Or are there truths buried beneath the ice? Truths that only a select few are allowed to know. Tonight, we will travel together to the frozen south of our world. We will follow the stories told about Antarctica. And more importantly, we will separate myth from fact. Some of your questions will be answered. But make no mistake, by the end of this journey, new questions will be born. Welcome to Find the Truth. Before we dive into ancient maps, philosophers, and forgotten theories, we must first understand something crucial. Antarctica is not mysterious because of what we know. It is mysterious because of what we don't know. In an age where information travels instantly, where nearly every corner of the planet is mapped, photographed, categorized, and archived, Antarctica stands as a rare exception. A place where uncertainty still dominates. Think about how unusual that is. We live in a world where we can open our phones and see live images of distant cities. We can track airplanes in real time. We can explore the surface of Mars in high resolution. And yet, there exists a continent on our own planet where vast regions remain completely unseen by human eyes. Not metaphorically unseen, literally unseen. More than 98% of Antarctica is buried beneath ice. Ice so thick that it crushes mountains. Ice so ancient that it predates human civilization by orders of magnitude. In some places, this ice reaches depths of more than 5 kilometers. 5 kilometers. To put that into perspective, that is deeper than most of the world's oceans. Deeper than the deepest mines ever dug by humanity. And beneath this ice lies an entire world. A hidden world. Subglacial mountains taller than the Alps. Vast valleys carved by ancient rivers. Lakes sealed away from the surface for millions of years. Rivers that still flow in complete darkness, guided only by gravity and pressure. This is not speculation. This is established science. And this alone should already make Antarctica unsettling. Because it means that despite all our progress, there are environments on Earth that remain almost as alien to us as distant planets. Now ask yourself an uncomfortable question. If such massive unknowns exist beneath the ice, how confident can we truly be about our understanding of Earth's past? For most of human history, Antarctica was not even a concept. Ancient civilizations had no direct knowledge of it, no ships capable of reaching it, no instruments to detect it. To understand why Antarctica fascinates us so deeply, we must go back nearly 2,000 years. In the 2nd century AD, we encounter one of the most important thinkers of the ancient world, Claudius Ptolemy. You may know him simply as Ptolemy. He was not just one thing. He was an astronomer, a mathematician, a geographer, an astrologer, and a philosopher. Ptolemy spent most of his life in Alexandria, the intellectual heart of the ancient world, working among the scrolls of the legendary Library of Alexandria. From there, he left behind works that shaped human understanding for centuries. But one of his claims still echoes today. Ptolemy was the first known person in history to seriously speak of a massive landmass in the far south of the world. In his work Geographia, he referred to it as Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown southern land. Now pause for a moment. At a time when even the Americas were completely unknown, at a time when global navigation was extremely limited, how could Ptolemy even imagine such a continent? The answer is surprisingly simple. Science. Ancient science, but science nonetheless. Ptolemy adopted Aristotle's idea that the Earth was spherical, and Aristotle believed that for a round Earth to remain balanced, there must be large landmasses in both the north and the south. This idea, known as the theory of balance, suggested that the known continents of the north must be countered by a vast southern land. Was Aristotle wrong? Yes, in many ways. But remember, he reached this conclusion without knowledge of space, gravity, or orbital mechanics. For his time, it was a brilliant inference. Later thinkers like Eratosthenes and Hipparchus calculated the Earth's circumference with astonishing accuracy, over 2,000 years ago, using nothing but geometry and observation. So when Ptolemy claimed that a southern land must exist, he was not fantasizing. He was reasoning, and this idea would haunt humanity for centuries. And yet, somehow, the idea of a southern land persisted. It appeared in myths, in philosophical reasoning, in symbolic geography. Again and again, across cultures and centuries, humans imagined a land at the bottom of the world. Not because they had seen it, but because they felt it had to exist. This alone tells us something profound about the human mind. We are not satisfied with incomplete maps. We instinctively seek balance, symmetry, order. When the known world felt too heavy in the north, the mind demanded something in the south. And so Antarctica existed long before it was discovered. It existed as an idea, as a necessity, as a question mark. But ideas have power, and over time, ideas transform into obsessions. As navigation improved and ships ventured farther into unknown waters, the southern oceans became a graveyard of ambition. Explorers sailed south chasing fame, fortune, and discovery. Many never returned. Those who did often came back broken, physically and mentally. Some described endless white landscapes that seemed to stretch into infinity. Others spoke of storms so violent they felt unnatural. A few claimed the land itself felt hostile, as if it rejected human presence. Were these exaggerations? Possibly, but isolation, cold, and fear have a way of distorting perception. Antarctica does not just challenge the body, it challenges the mind. Modern psychology confirms this. Extreme isolation combined with sensory deprivation can produce hallucinations, paranoia, and distorted memories. In Antarctica, the horizon barely changes. The colors are limited. The silence is overwhelming. Days blur together. Time loses meaning. This is one reason why many early explorers reported experiences that sound almost supernatural. Not because Antarctica is magical, but because the human brain is fragile. And Antarctica exposes that fragility mercilessly. Even today, modern researchers stationed there experience depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline during long winters. And these are trained professionals, equipped with technology, communication, and psychological preparation. Now imagine what it was like centuries ago. This psychological aspect alone explains why Antarctica has always attracted myths. When humans cannot fully understand something, they fill the gaps with stories. And stories grow, especially when reinforced by secrecy. Which brings us to one of the most important points. Antarctica is not just physically isolated, it is politically isolated. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, froze territorial claims and turned the continent into a scientific preserve. On paper, this sounds noble, and in many ways, it is. But it also means that Antarctica exists outside the normal rules of the world. No country owns it, no military can operate freely there, no corporation can legally extract its resources. In a world driven by power and profit, this is highly unusual. And whenever something is unusual, suspicion follows. People begin to ask, what are they hiding? Why here? Why this place? The truth is, Antarctica contains vast resources. Oil, natural gas, rare minerals, enough to fuel geopolitical conflict on a massive scale. If unrestricted access were allowed, Antarctica could easily become the spark for a global war. In this context, the treaty makes sense. But rational explanations rarely satisfy the human imagination, especially when access is limited, especially when satellite images show strange shapes, especially when flights avoid certain routes, especially when maps are censored or blurred. Even if there are logical reasons, secrecy breeds speculation, and speculation breeds conspiracy. This is how Antarctica slowly transformed from a frozen continent into a symbol of hidden truth. A place where people project their deepest suspicions about governments, science, and history. For some, Antarctica hides alien civilizations. For others, ancient human societies. For others still, forbidden technologies. Most of these claims collapse under scrutiny. But the fascination remains. Why? Because Antarctica represents the last frontier on Earth. Not the ocean depths. Not space. But a place that is right here. On our planet, untouched, unfinished, unresolved, and there is something deeply unsettling about that. Because it means that no matter how advanced we become, there will always be places that resist us. Places that remind us we are not in full control. Antarctica is not mysterious because it hides answers. It is mysterious because it exposes questions we are not ready to answer. Questions about our past, our limits, our arrogance. And perhaps most importantly, questions about how much of human history has already been lost. Before we talk about ancient philosophers, before we examine old maps, before we analyze controversial theories, we must accept this. Antarctica is not just a continent. It is a mirror, and what it reflects is not ice. It reflects us. As centuries passed, the myth of the southern land became a goal. European sailors dreamed of finding it. Cartographers drew it again and again, often without evidence. Then, in 1513, history took a dramatic turn. Piri Reis, the great Ottoman admiral and cartographer, presented a map to Sultan Selim I. Today, we call it the Piri Reis map. It shows the western coast of Africa, the eastern coasts of North and South America, and at the bottom, a mysterious landmass. Many claim this land is Antarctica, drawn centuries before its official discovery, and without ice. Sounds impossible, right? But here's the truth. Piri Reis never claimed it was Antarctica. He openly stated that he compiled his map using older sources, Portuguese, Arab, and Mediterranean sailors. What modern conspiracy theories call Antarctica is most likely Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego, inaccurately extended due to incomplete exploration. Early maps often made such errors. When modern computer modeling is applied, the coastlines align remarkably well with South America. No aliens, no lost civilizations, no astral knowledge, just cartographic limitations. Charles Hapgood was a history professor, but his passion lay in ancient maps and geology. He proposed a shocking idea, that Antarctica was once ice-free. That it hosted an advanced civilization. And that a sudden shift of Earth's crust, around 12,000 years ago, moved the continent to the South Pole. This event, he argued, became the basis for global flood myths. Mainstream science rejected this theory. And rightly so. Plate tectonics show continents move very slowly, over millions of years. A sudden crustal shift would require unimaginable forces. Possible? Theoretically, yes. Likely? Extremely doubtful. But Hapgood's ideas ignited the imagination of the public. Atlantis, lost civilizations, buried cities beneath kilometers of ice. And Antarctica became the ultimate mystery. Then came World War II. Nazi expeditions to Antarctica were real, but motivated by resources, not aliens. After the war, the U.S. launched Operation Highjump, the largest Antarctic expedition in history. Official purpose? Cold weather testing and scientific research. Conspiracy version? Alien contact, underground civilizations, secret battles. The problem? There is zero verifiable evidence. Admiral Byrd's alleged diaries? Never produced. Family testimonies? They deny such claims. What is real, however, is this: Antarctica holds massive untapped resources. Oil, gas, minerals. Which brings us to the Antarctic Treaty of 1959. Signed by rival nations, including the US and the Soviet Union, the treaty banned military activity and resource exploitation. Antarctica became a scientific preserve. Does this mean secrets are hidden? Or does it mean humanity learned, briefly, from history? Given the potential for conflict, the treaty is actually one of the most peaceful agreements ever signed. Flights are restricted because extreme weather, magnetic interference, no emergency landing zones, security concerns. Tourists can visit Antarctica at enormous cost. But the interior? -80 degrees, instant death. But before we answer that final question, we need to slow down for a moment. Because when we talk about Antarctica, we are not just talking about ice, rock, and frozen landscapes. We are talking about the limits of human knowledge. Despite all our satellites, all our supercomputers, and all our advanced technology, Antarctica remains one of the last places on Earth where certainty simply does not exist. Think about this for a second. We have detailed maps of Mars. We know the chemical composition of distant exoplanets. We can detect gravitational waves from the far edges of the universe. And yet, beneath our own feet, on our own planet, there is an entire continent we barely understand. More than 98% of Antarctica is covered by ice. In some regions, that ice reaches depths of 3 to 5 kilometers. Below it lies a landscape no human has ever seen directly. Mountains, valleys, lakes trapped under ice for millions of years. Entire river systems flowing in total darkness. Lake Vostok, for example, remained completely isolated from the outside world for over 15 million years. When scientists finally drilled close to it, they hesitated, afraid that modern bacteria might contaminate something ancient and untouched. Ask yourself this: if microbial life can survive in total darkness, extreme pressure, and freezing temperatures for millions of years, what else could survive? And now consider this: Antarctica was not always where it is today. Geology confirms that it was once part of a much warmer supercontinent. Forests once grew there, animals once lived there. This is not speculation, this is proven. So the real mystery is not whether Antarctica once supported life. It did. The mystery is when, how, and what kind. And that question opens a door many people are uncomfortable with. Because once you accept that Antarctica had a radically different past, you must also accept that our understanding of Earth's history is incomplete. Civilizations rise and fall, nature erases, time destroys. If an advanced society had existed tens or even hundreds of thousands of years ago, far earlier than our accepted timeline, would we even know? Would anything remain? Normally, the answer would be no. But Antarctica is different. Ice preserves. Ice locks time in place. Under the right conditions, ice can protect structures, landscapes, and even biological material far longer than any desert or jungle ever could. That is why Antarctica continues to disturb us. Not because of aliens, not because of secret bases, not because of science fiction, but because it represents something far more unsettling: the possibility that humanity does not know its own full story. So, is there any real mystery left? Yes. 1. Could traces of ancient life, or even civilization, exist beneath kilometers of ice? Science says Antarctica has been frozen for millions of years. But science also admits, we have explored less than 2% of what lies beneath the ice. If anything remains preserved there, it will stay hidden until the ice melts, or technology advances dramatically. Until then, Antarctica remains what it has always been: a mirror. Reflecting our curiosity, our fears, our imagination, and perhaps, our limits. Yes. 1. Could traces of ancient life, or even civilization, exist beneath kilometers of ice? Science says Antarctica has been frozen for millions of years. But science also admits, we have explored less than 2% of what lies beneath the ice. If anything remains preserved there, it will stay hidden until the ice melts, or technology advances dramatically. Until then, Antarctica remains what it has always been, a mirror, reflecting our curiosity, our fears, our imagination, and perhaps, our limits.